All right. Hey, everybody. It's good to see you. So I think it's pretty cool that you were listening to a song that went a little late, I guess is what happened. Because I actually came in like right straight at 5. And I'll tell you why. I was watching Gunsmoke and I wanted to see the end. It was so good. It's like, I'm like, get ready to turn the TV off, get my computer ready, all that. So I could come in right at 5. And then you guys were listening to a song and I got to relax. So no big deal. See how perfect everything is? Yeah. Anyway, welcome to, what is this called? Clarifying the Teachings. And I promised you all that tonight we would look at a message that came to me way back in November of 2006 called Is Attack Possible? And I asked you all to listen to a teaching that is on YouTube under the Early Teachings playlist, which I just called Mind Blowing Truth Part 1. I didn't know what else to name it. Mind Blowing Truth Part 1. And that message that I'm sharing in that video came just before the message we're going to look at tonight. So in a way, they're kind of partner messages. But if you listen to Mind Blowing Truth Part 1, then you know that what that message is attempting to say with words is that which really can't be said with words. But what it's saying is, that everything here, everything here is God. There's nothing else here. And scientists might even say that everything here is really, I think they use the word mostly space, right? Mostly space. But again, even they agree there's not really anything here. And so what that message was really describing, it used the word communication, but what it was really pointing to was the oneness that we are. You could say the one mind, the one consciousness, the oneness that we are. Because if there's nothing here, why do we all see a pen? Why don't I see a pen and Sina see a cup and Jacqueline see a good looking man? How come we all see the same thing? And the answer to that is that's our oneness. It's our oneness that looks at God and sees a pen. It's our oneness that looks at mostly space and sees, a phone. And if you take any time at all to really contemplate that, it is mind-blowing. I mean, this is why I named that video Mind Blowing Truth. It's absolutely mind-blowing that that there's nothing here, or that there's only God here, whichever way you want to say it. The two are really the same. That there's nothing here, or there's only God here, and yet we all see all these different things, and we see the same things. Now, at the same time, and this is what the later message, the code, really talked about, at the same time, there's an individual interpretation of what we see. So like, I could see a pen, and George could see a pen, and I could think this is a really nice pen because it's got this thing here for the grip and it's blue, and I love blue pens and I kind of like thick pens. And George could think, that's just a cheap pen. I'd rather have a better pen, right? So we both see a pen, but we can have individual interpretations of the pen. So in that way, our seeing is the same and our seeing is different. But that seeing that's different comes through the ego mind. As we awaken, the seeing becomes more and more and more the same until it's completely the same in that we're only seeing God. That's all we know is God. So that was just kind of a quick reason for me bringing you into the Mind Blowing Truth Part 1 video. And if anybody didn't see that, I recommend it. I think it's a good message that was given to me by Holy Spirit that I'm sharing from in that video. So tonight we're going to look at the message that came right after that. So keep mind blowing truth in mind as we go over this message. One of the reasons, there's really two reasons I brought this message to us. One was I listened to the audio where I taught this message, and I ended up teaching this message over 3 1-hour periods when I was doing it back in the Holy Spirit Guides teachings, because people had so many questions, and the teaching just kind of goes all like this, like this, like this. And I couldn't even make a video out of it. There was just so much discussion. So I thought, since I couldn't make a video out of it for the early teachings playlist, and since there's a war going on in the Ukraine right now, and some people are concerned about that, maybe what I would do is just bring that message here, and it would be recorded, and it would be brought to us in this playlist, the Clarifying the Teachings playlist, instead of in the Early Teachings playlist. So it just kind of gave me 2 reasons to bring it. So what I'm going to do, no, I'm not going to do that yet. I was going to share my screen, but I don't want to. How do I cancel that? There we go. What I want to do first is just briefly tell you the story about how this message came about. Some of you will be aware of this situation. For some of you, it may be new. It happened back in 2006, clearly, when the message came. 2006, that is when John Mundy, who was kind of the one who discovered Gary Renard and introduced Gary Renard to the course community. But then after some time, he began to have doubts about whether Gary's experiences with Arten and Persa were real or not real. And by real or not real, obviously within the 4th principle of God, they were not real. But what I mean is, because everything in the 4th principle of God is not real, but what I mean is whether Gary made it up or not, right? In that way. And John published a magazine along with a couple other teachers. I can't remember their names right this second, because I didn't pay as much attention to them. I didn't know them as well. But he published in his magazine an entire, almost an entire magazine. Oh, Greg Mackey was one of them. And Robert Perry, right? Those were the other 2. Basically saying, that they thought Gary was a fake. I mean, this is basically what the magazine said, although it was a lot of words to say just that. And then, of course, Gary got very upset, as well as, anybody who really supported Gary. And John, one thing I've always respected about John out of this is he made the error of listening to judgments in his mind enough to publish the magazine. But once the magazine came up, he began to question his judgments. I don't know if you guys know this about him. And he began to feel that he made an error. It didn't even matter whether Gary was a fake or not. It was his error to listen to those egoic thoughts. It was his error to follow those thoughts and publish that magazine. And he ended up posting not exactly a retraction. He didn't really comment anymore on whether Gary was for real or Gary was a fake. But he explained that it was his mistake to follow those thoughts, right? That when those thoughts showed up in his mind, those were thoughts that should have been let go. But in that same magazine where he, came in and explained that this was his mistake, he also let Gary publish his statement, and anyway, it was a big deal in the course community back then, if you guys remember this. And one of the things, if you were looking at posts that people were making, sure, everybody had an opinion like people do. What was happening in these posts is people were saying either that, John, Robert, and that Mackey guy, whatever his name was, that they attacked Gary. Or some people thought that, everybody has a side. Some people thought that John, Robert, and Greg Mackey, if that was his name, that they were in the right, but the things that Gary said in his rebuttal, he was attacking them. So everybody kept using this attack word, right? One side was either the attacker or the other side was either the attacker. And I was reading all of these posts. But this really interesting thing started to happen in my mind. And that every time my eyes would land on the word attack, I would literally hear in my mind, no. It didn't even matter who the poster thought was attacking who. It was always a no. And after some time of this, I don't remember if it was a few days or what, but after some time of this, I decided to go within and ask Holy Spirit. I'm thinking about this no. Why does this no happening every time I see the word attack? And so I went in and I asked Holy Spirit, is attack possible? Because I thought the no was trying to tell me that there's no such thing as attack. So that's the message we're about to look at. You ready? Oops, that's the 4 principles of God. There we go. Is attack possible? So this is November 24th, 2006. Simple question, is attack possible? I'm going to read the entire message to you without stopping, and then we'll come back and look at it. Here's the answer from within. No, attack is not possible because all thought is shared. Each one receives as he has asked to receive through his thought. Therefore, no one is ever attacked, and only his request is answered. Within perception, attack is a misperception of your experience. It is a misperception of what you believe you are doing and a misperception of that which you experience as being done. It is always misperception and never fact. I ask you to let go of attack thoughts, not because they are attack, but because they block true perception from your sight. As you believe in attack, you cannot see love because you believe love is attack. Love is not attack. Love is giving through spirit to spirit that which spirit requests. This giving is never given consciously, as consciousness is the domain of the ego. This giving is natural and outside of the domain of the ego, so that it is without any conscious involvement at all. Love cannot stop, but love can be misperceived if you believe in attack. In order to see love's reflection through true perception, you must be willing to let go of all perception of attack. Remember this. When you believe you are attacking or have attacked, you are completely wrong. Give this misperception to me that you may see differently. When you believe you are attacked, you are 100% wrong. Give this misperception to me that you may see differently. When you believe you see one attacking another, you are believing in attack yourself. Give this misperception to me that you may see differently. Miracles are never under conscious control because giving is never under conscious control. Spirit is not consciousness as the ego is. The ego, or the part of the mind that thinks it is separate, interprets all that is experienced by making up stories about that which is experienced. However, all of that is made up. And so it is the veil that hides true perception from your awareness. When you do something, you may think, I am doing this because of this or that. Know that whatever you think after you think because of is not true. The only reason you do anything is because you are guided to do it by your thoughts, which comes to you from your spirit. All that you do because you are guided to do it. You can never do anything independent of guidance. This is why you are innocent. Yet I teach that you have a choice about what you will do and how you will feel, and this is also true. This is true because you get to request through spirit the experiences that shall be given you. You make this request through choosing which thoughts to believe or accept. If you accept that you are attacking, being attacked, or seeing attack, you will have the experience of attack because you have requested it through your perception. What you ask for is given you, always. If you see the temptation or the opportunity to perceive attack, but you choose to let that opportunity pass you by refusing to accept the perception, you request the miracle. The miracle is not really a miracle at all. It is only a truer way of perceiving, which is seeing that there is no attack because there is only love. Watch your mind for your perceptions. Ask yourself, what do I truly want to experience right now? As you answer this question, you make a conscious decision about how to see. The answer to your request is delivered through spirit, which is not conscious, but it is always exactly that which you honestly requested. So that's the message in full. And now what I'll do is I'll just go back and share what this message meant to me. Because when you are the receiver of inner wisdom, you understand the message more fully than the words seem to be able to communicate. And so I will share what this message meant for me. So again, I asked, is attack possible? And of course, the answer, it was that no, I'd been hearing, no, attack is not possible. And it says, because all thought is shared. Now, this word thought here does not mean language in the brain. This thought could be more of desire. For example, most people in the world today, without even consciously thinking about it, they never consciously pick this desire. Most people in the world today desire separation. They desire separation by seeing themselves as a separate, independent person, by really, again, without even thinking about it, wanting to be a separate, independent person. That's what people want, right? I want my way. I want to look good to others. I want to be loved, right? All of these kinds of thoughts, which are very normal human thoughts, is a constant expression of the desire for separation. And so this is the type of thought that is shared. You could call it intention. You could call it purpose. And this is why that I, as well as some other teachers, teach how important spiritual aspiration is. Spiritual aspiration is choosing another thought, because you're choosing another desire. You're choosing another intention. But it doesn't help for that thought, that desire, that intention to be chosen just at an intellectual level. It has to be beyond the intellectual level. It has to be radiating through your way of being, through your way of living. Just like those who crave separation don't even know they're craving separation, right? They're just craving my way. I want people to like me. I want to look smart, right? They don't know they're craving separation, but they are. You can say that you have a spiritual purpose, but still be craving separation. So you need to kind of shift everything. So if you'll pardon the word craving, and I know some people judge that, but so that you're craving truth instead. I think the way Michael Langford describes that is an intense desire for liberation, right? And so this becomes your way of being. And, what NTI teaches is really all of the time, no matter what you think you're asking for, you're always only asking for one or the other. Those are the only two things you can actually ask for. Everything else, kind of comes down to, I want the perception of separation, or I want truth. There are no other wants here, no matter what it looks like. And those are the thoughts. There's really only two thoughts that are echoing throughout humanity. So, attack is not possible because all thought is shared. Each one receives as he has asked to receive through his thought. Therefore, no one is ever attacked, only his request is answered. So what this means is, and we'll go ahead and use the John Gary story, since that's what I started with. We'll just use that story. What this is saying is that anyone, including Gary, anyone who perceived John as attacking Gary, or anyone, including John, who perceived Gary as attacking John, all of those people, all of those people, all right, wanted the perception of separation. That's why they saw it that way. And if I want the perception of separation, and you give me the opportunity to see the perception of separation by attacking me, or attacking a friend of mine, or attacking a teacher I respect, whatever, you're just giving me what I want, the perception of separation. Therefore, that's not really attack. Right? I mean, if I ask for chocolate and you give me chocolate, am I attacked? No. So if I ask for the perception of separation and you give me the perception of separation, am I attacked? No. That's what this is saying. In fact, attack is impossible because each one only receives what they're asking for. Remember, there's only two things you can ask for. So, attack is not possible because all thought is shared. Each one receives as he has asked to receive through his thought. Therefore, no one is ever attacked, and only his request is answered. Within perception, attack is a misperception of your experience. It is a misperception of what you believe you are doing, and a misperception of that which you experience as being done. It is always a misperception and never fact. So the interesting thing here is it doesn't matter whether you're on the what appears to be the receiving end of the attack, or if you appear to be the attacker, right? It's saying it's not attack because it's giving, sharing the perception of separation when the perception, the experience of separation is what was desired. So it doesn't really matter which side of that you're on. It's still the same thing. You're either the one getting the chocolate or you're the one giving the chocolate, or maybe you're watching two people give chocolate to each other, but there's no attack going on here, right? Everybody's just sharing. It's the only thing that can happen here. Now, after explaining that, I suppose a question rose up in my mind. I didn't ask it, but Spirit answered it, because I'm probably thinking, well, if I can't attack anyone, then why are you asking me to let go of attack thoughts? Because, even though you don't see the question, Spirit answers my thought, you can tell. I ask you to let go of attack thoughts, not because they are attack, but because they block true perception from your sight. As you believe in attack, you cannot see love because you believe love is attack. Love is not attack. Love is giving through Spirit to Spirit that which Spirit requests. This giving is never given consciously, as consciousness is the domain of the ego. This giving is natural and outside of the domain of the ego. So it is without any conscious involvement at all. Now, when this is talking about the ego here, this is talking about the personal self. So the sense of a personal self. And what this is saying is that let's say I do attack one of you, let's say I kind of tear into one of you, say some things and attack you. Well, this is saying that when I attack you, I'm not attacking you because I'm consciously aware of the fact that you want the experience of separation. You see, that's not something that the ego consciously knows. The ego is not consciously at the personal self level playing this game. This is happening more at the spirit level, not Holy Spirit. It's the wrong mind of spirit, right? But this is happening more at the spirit level. A good way to put it, if you want to put it in course terms, is it's happening at the dreamer level, the dreamer of the dream. It's happening at the dreamer level. And the characters in the dream aren't consciously doing it, even though they're following suit. One example that Spirit used to use with me was the example of a child playing with dolls. The child is the one that decides the dolls are going to attack each other, not the dolls, right? So the child is the dreamer of the dream, or the one mind of consciousness. Sorry, I shouldn't use that word because the word's being used differently in this message. I'll call it the one mind of spirit on the wrong-minded side, right? So the one mind is where the thought of separation exists. It's played out through the people, but the people aren't deciding to give each other the experience of separation, right? How many of y'all got up one day and said, I'm going to give so-and-so an experience of separation today, right? Probably not one of you ever, right? So in that way, it's not conscious, you see. We do it. We oblige that all the time, right? But it's not conscious. It's not a conscious decision. So the reason we do it is because when a thought comes into our mind, and this thought comes into our mind from our oneness, like he shouldn't have done that. I'm going to go give him what for? And we believe the thought. So we're believing the thought that comes into our mind, and the thought that comes into our mind so that we will give each other the experience of separation, you see. All we're doing is believing our thoughts. So what's happening here then is that all that's here is God, right? This body is God. The thoughts are actually energy that's God. The emotions are God. The entire world is God. All that is here is God. But because of a desire in the mind to see something different than God, to have an experience of separation, then the different characters that we are get these thoughts that express that desire. And as we act out those thoughts, we are having that experience. But the tool that we are playing with, that we're turning into attack and everything here, is God. It's amazing. So what Spirit is telling me is the reason I ask you to let go of attack thoughts isn't because you're actually attacking. You're just playing this game of separation like everybody else. But you're not going to see that the only thing you're playing with is God if you keep believing in attack. You have to let go of thinking you're seeing attack in order to realize that only God is here. You can't do both at the same time. So I'm not asking you to let go of your attack thoughts because they're actually attack. I'm asking you to let go of your attack thoughts so you can see what's really here. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, Sign, is your hand up? I'm so sorry. You still remember your question from 3 years ago?
So sweet. Yeah, I actually do. You said something and I don't know if I misinterpreted you, so please correct me if I heard you wrong, because it really stood out, especially because my relationship with my son is ongoing. There's wanting to connect and nothing coming back at my way. So I heard you say, I feel so weary saying that because we all misinterpret you, but that when I desire for someone to love me, it's actually an attack. It's actually the desire for separation.
Yes.
So I have been doing that for a
Yeah.
long time, wanting him to so-called love me back.
Yes.
And I'm sorry. So it's true. I've been believing in attack this whole time by engaging in that whole thing I'm doing.
Well, the way I would word that differently, I would say it's true. I've been asking for the perception of separation. An attack is one of the ways that that perception comes.
So anytime I need or want, especially the need factor, somebody to love me, that is engaging in that whole separation thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's much more important. This is, this. So wanting someone to love me is the perception of separation. Wanting to be liked by others is asking for the perception of separation. Wanting to be seen as good, wanting to be seen as loving, also the perception of separation. What falls in harmony with the perception of truth is wanting to be the presence of love. Can you hear the difference in those things?
Yes, I can. And so I mean, if you could, in this particular situation, because you see it's been going on for almost 4 years now, and nothing has changed except I went to go see him and he said to my face he didn't like me. So there's that whole life is showing me that belief in attack or separation. Right. So what is the sanest thing I can do for me and for him?
The sanest thing you can do is seek ye first the kingdom. Not seek ye first the sun or anything else. Seek ye first the kingdom. That's the sanest thing you can do, is just focus on your desire for truth realization. Focus on your spiritual practice, your inner guidance, your purpose of truth realization, and let everything else just happen. Seek ye first the kingdom. That's the sanest thing you can do. And again, when we get distracted by other things, we don't understand that we're still asking for the world, asking for the perception of separation, and and the world and everybody in it will oblige us, right? They're going to give us what we want. And what you're doing is perfectly human, know that, right? But it's not what leads to seeing only God. All right, so let me share my screen again. Thanks for asking that, Sign. And you can put your hand down so that I'll know if you put it up again. So let me share my screen again. So looking at the same paragraph, when I said, well, if I'm not attacking, I asked within my mind, if I'm not attacking, why do I let go of my attack thoughts? Right. And the answer is because if you believe attack thoughts, you're not going to see what's really going on here. You're not going to see that it's really just all God, that God's all that's here. So I ask you to let go of attack thoughts, not because they are attack, but because they block true perception from your sight. As you believe in attack, you cannot see love because you believe love is attack. Love is not attack. Here's what love is. You ready for this definition? Love is giving through spirit to spirit that which spirit requests. That's love. Love is giving through spirit to spirit that which spirit requests. So those who still desire, even though they don't know they're doing it, they're not consciously picking this desire. They're just desiring things like wanting their son to love them, which seems perfectly normal, right? But those who are still desiring separation are being given the experience of separation. That's love. And it won't be taken away from them before they're ready to have it taken away from them, before they change their purpose, their intention, in a very real way, not in just in an I say way, right? Where they're changing their entire beingness to be aligned with it. Those who want truth realization, this is what starts to come to them, everything to help them wake up. Because as soon as you truly want truth realization, that's the only purpose the world can have for you. It's the only way the world can be with you, right? And so, because love can only give you what you want. So whether it appears to be attack or whether it appears to be an insight, it's the same love. What was different was the desire. So love is giving through spirit to spirit that which spirit requests. This giving, as I said, is never given consciously, as consciousness is the domain of the ego. And this is talking about the personal self. The personal self is ignorant of the game it plays. The personal self does not know that it is playing the game of separation, right? It's just, people just don't know that, even though they're constantly doing it. It says this giving is natural and outside the domain of the ego. It's not a conscious thought, go play the game of separation. It's just natural. It's just happening natural, like it's very natural for Sina to want her son to love her, right? It's completely outside the domain of the ego. It has no conscious involvement at all. Nobody is deciding to play the game of separation. Same thing is true if it's the game of awakening. Now, the one that is chosen to awaken, that one is conscious of it. But those who are coming and saying the right things, bringing up the right situations, all the things that are happening, they're not saying, hey, I'm here to help you wake up. And I know that you still have this thought in you that needs to be pushed up. So I'm going to push it up for it. You know, they're just unconsciously doing all the right stuff that you need done to help you wake up. They're not doing that consciously either. Right? So people are just doing what they're doing, what their thoughts are telling them to do. But whether you're receiving the experience of separation or whether you're receiving everything that you need to awaken, that's dependent on your desire, on what you're really committed to within yourself, on your intention. It says love cannot stop. Love cannot stop. That's all that's going on here. It can't stop. Everybody's giving everybody exactly what they want, right? That's the only thing that can happen. Love cannot stop, but love can be misperceived if you believe in attack. In order to see love's reflection through true perception, you must be willing to let go of all perception of attack. Because of course, when I choose to perceive attack, I'm choosing the experience of separation. I can't see God then. I'm choosing against God. So I have to be willing to let go of the not God, which includes attack, in order to see only God. So it says, remember this. When you believe you are attacking, I think that's the for me, that would be the harder part. When I believe I'm the one attacking, right? I have to realize I'm wrong. I didn't just attack. Not in a denial way. I have seen people use spiritual teachings in a denial way. And I don't know if I can describe the difference, but I will do my best. Let's say I'm going to pick on Glenn and Yolanda. Let's say I say something really, really mean to Glenn and Yolanda. And it just kind of slipped out because of course it was unconscious, right? It just kind of slipped out. And then I realized, oh my gosh, all these people are watching me and I just did something, very unspiritual. And so I then lie to me and you and everybody else. I say, well, I couldn't help that. That was just unconscious. That's just what happens here. They desire the perception of separation. I gave it to them. That's bullshit, right? That's bullshit. What this wants me to do is it wants me to look at myself, not lie to myself. So let's use the same example. Let's assume for a moment that I said something mean and nasty to Glenn and Yolanda. And then I see it, maybe a part of why I see it is I see your mouths drop wide open, right? You help me to see it. But I see it. Now what I want to do is I want to look at it. Probably the next thing I'm going to feel is guilt or embarrassment or something, right? But I'm going to look at that and I am going to trust that this came to me and through me, because this is the game that spirit is playing now. And I just, because I was unconscious for a moment, I got caught up in an unconscious game for a moment. Because sharing the game of separation is an unconscious game. And then what I'm going to do is choose to be more conscious, because awakening is a game of consciousness and awareness. You see the difference between using that spiritual teach, say, well, I couldn't do anything else. They must want separation. That's why I said that to them, right? That's bullshit. It's not about them and what they want. It's about me. It's always about me. If I became unconscious for a moment and played the unconscious game of separation, then I need to become conscious again. Right? You see that? But the reason I can't allow the guilt to be released, and I can still apologize to Glenn and Yolanda. I have no problem with apologizing to people. It's like, I'm really sorry. I that was very inappropriate. My mind, I was very unconscious for a moment. I really, I can do all of that, but I still need to take responsibility by letting go of my guilt, believe it or not, even if I apologize to them, because holding on to guilt is still ego. So the way that I'm responsible by letting go of my guilt is trusting that, again, this game of separation is unconscious. I wasn't really attacking anyone, but I did fall into an unconscious game. And I don't have to be unconscious. I can choose consciousness. And, I gotta forgive myself. I gotta understand what happened, and I gotta learn from it. One thing that's also very, very human is learning from our mistakes, right? I don't think anybody ever just does this perfect. Boom, 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 boom. I got there through perfection. No, we make mistakes. Some of the mistakes are our greatest teachers. So when you believe you are attacking or have attacked, you are completely wrong, but this is not an excuse for denial. Give this misperception to me that you may see differently. Very conscious. You're going to realize that you felt unconscious. You're going to give this to spirit or whatever you give it to. You're going to ask to see differently, right? When you believe you are attacked, so now somebody's coming after me. When you believe you are attacked, you're 100% wrong. Give this misperception to me that you may see differently. When you believe you see two people out there, you're not even in it, but you see two people out there attacking one another. That's because you believe in attack yourself. I couldn't see two people out there attacking one another unless the perception of separation was here. I would see two people believing thoughts and playing the game. That's how clarity sees. I would see two people believing thoughts and playing the game. If I see attack, that's because I'm believing in attack here. And I need to give this misperception to inner wisdom so that I can see differently. I'll pause there for a moment. Some of you have heard the story about when it appeared that I was being rejected by Laurent. And Holy Spirit told me I could only see that because of my own belief and my own rejectability, and asked me to let go of my own belief and my own rejectability, which took me a couple of months, a very consistent effort for a couple of months. When that belief died, I could no longer see rejection anywhere. Now, first of all, with Laurent in my own house, I started to see what was going on is he was just believing thoughts, right? He was just believing thoughts. But after that, like I had some friends that got a divorce, and anybody else would have seen some attacking going on, some fighting. Here's the genuine, honest way I saw that. It must be time for them to go their separate directions. They don't understand that And so they're each believing their thoughts, and there's resistance and fighting and finger pointing going on. But it's time for them to go. I mean, that's what's going on here. It's time for them to go in separate directions. You just can't see these things anymore. You see the same situation. I mean, I saw them getting a divorce and fighting and all that like everybody else. But I perceived it completely differently. I perceived it as a union. It's time for them to go their separate ways. This is just how they're doing it, believing their thoughts while they're doing it. But they need to go their separate ways. That's what's supposed to happen for everybody now. Right? If they weren't believing their thoughts, it could have maybe been a more friendly parting. But because they were believing their thoughts, it was an unfriendly parting. But the parting, it was time for the parting, or the parting couldn't have happened. So that's what this is saying, is you can't believe in attack and rejection and betrayal and abandonment and loneliness and unworthiness and guilt and blame and fear. And, I could go on, jealousy, right? I could go on and see God too. You're either playing the game of separation or you're not. So even though it appears we're only talking about attack here, we aren't only talking about attack here. We're talking about all of those separation-based beliefs. Now, it also says miracles are never under conscious control. Giving is never under conscious control. Spirit is not consciousness. This means like what you're consciously aware of is the definition of consciousness in this message. Spirit is not consciousness as the ego is. The ego, or the part of the mind that thinks it's separate, interprets all that is experienced by making up stories about that which is experienced. However, all of that is made up, and so it is the veil that hides true perception from your awareness. And I have a perfect, very simple example. Now, I don't know what happened before I came in the room, but you guys were playing a song, and it appeared maybe that Jacqueline's program hadn't fully ended yet, because after the song, Sina seemed to wrap up that program. Is that true? Was that song like part of Jacqueline's program? Okay, so that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure I was right. So it appeared that Jacqueline's program ran late, right? But I told you guys that I wanted to see the end of Gunsmoke. Now, did Jacqueline or whoever played the song say, hey, I think Regina wants to watch the end of Gunsmoke. Let's play a song and give her the chance. Was that conscious? No. But did it happen? Yes. See, that's what this is saying. We are all the time doing things for each other that we are not aware of. Right? And even if you were to come to me, and let's say I still had the I am bad thought, right? But I now have a desire to awaken. You might come to me and say, oh my God, Regina, you've gained some weight. What's up? Right? That's a gift. If I want to see this I am bad belief, I need that opportunity from you. You're not consciously saying, oh, Regina has the I am bad belief. I need to help her get rid of it. Let me go tell her how fat she is, right? But that's what's going on. The only difference between whether I'm attacked in that moment by you or whether I have an opportunity for healing is my desire. But everything that goes on here is absolutely perfect, regardless of which desire I have. Because if I have the desire to see perception by telling me how fat I've gotten, you've just given me that opportunity. I mean, separation. If I have the desire to see separation, you just handed that to me. Thank you. If I have the desire to heal and I need that unworthiness pushed up, you just gave that to me. Thank you. There is nothing you can do to me that isn't perfect, you see. And there's nothing I can do to you that isn't perfect. The only thing we need to watch is what is my desire? What do I want? How do I want to perceive this? What do I want to do with this? It's the only thing. Everything else is always perfect all the time. So miracles are never under conscious control because giving is never under conscious control. Spirit is not consciousness, meaning conscious, this human conscious awareness, as the ego is. The ego, or the part of the mind that thinks it's separate, interprets all that is experienced by making up stories about that which is experienced. For example, if somebody said, oh my gosh, why did you tell Regina she looked like she's gained weight? Oh, well, you might start, you don't even know why. You might start making up a story why you said that, right? This is what it says. It says we make up stories about what we do all the time. And in fact, if you start paying attention to that, you're going to see that. You just did it. Because in effect, that's how your little character was being moved outside of conscious mind, right? It's human conscious mind. You just did it. But when somebody starts asking you why, or boy, you start making stuff up and believing it as fast as you can make it up. So the ego, or the part of the mind that thinks it's separate, interprets all that is experienced by making up stories about that which is experienced. However, all of that is made up. And so it is the veil that hides true perception from your awareness. When people are doing teachings like saying you are not the doer, that's the truth. Why did you come up and tell Regina that she looked like she was gaining weight? It just happened. You're not the doer. You were being moved from outside of consciousness. Whether that was received as the game of separation or received as a healing opportunity depends on Regina's purpose. But you were moved. And then when somebody asks you why, and you feel like you need an answer, well, I just thought maybe she'd want to know, she likes to climb mountains, and, if she gets too heavy, her knees are going to hurt. And that's all blah, 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 blah. It's all just blah, 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 right? But now, because you made up all that stuff, you think you are the doer. That supports your desire to be independent and separate. You see how the stories work? But it's all just made up interpretation of what's happening, which is perfection. It's made up interpretation of perfection, which is just happening. We have 2 minutes left, so I'm going to start with this paragraph. When you do something, you may think I'm doing this because of that. Maybe I'll do a brief review, and then I'll start with this paragraph next week. And hopefully we can get this done in just 2 hours instead of 3 hours. But if it happens in 3 hours again, it might. What happened last time I taught it in 2 hours, and then there were a bunch of questions which went into the third hour. So maybe that will happen again. So hopefully this is bringing some clarity, because this is clarifying the teachings. And I guess I'll see you guys again next week. I'll try not to turn on the TV before I come. That way I won't get held up by Gunsmoke. I didn't even know Gunsmoke was on the hour before I teach. That was pure accident, pure miracle today, but I enjoyed it. Bye.